Are you curious about Bitcoin? What it is? How it works? Is it good or bad? Then, first, what is important for you is that you need to choose between two options. Do you want to believe the mainstream, the leading authorities, me or anyone else? Or do you want to take a critical standpoint and consider everything, even the most basic things which may be wrongly considered? Now, let me introduce Bitcoin to you, considering both options. Well, most of people think that Bitcoin is a fraud. But if you go back to the 90s, you will see that most of people had almost the same opinion about the internet. They said that you would never be able to find anything on it, and that it is full of fraud. It was full of thieves, pornographers, terrorists, drug dealers, and nerds. I don't know why, but somehow those guys seem to be the worst. Anyway, those weirdos may be right again. This time with Bitcoin. Let me show you more examples from our history. Do you know how people called the first cars? They called them disgustingly dangerous, smelly machines. And they said, we don't need a noisy horse that breaks down all the time. And guess what happened a few years later? Everybody wanted a noisy horse. There was also the rivalry between Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla, between direct and alternating current. To convince people that his direct current is better, Edison was killing dogs and cats in public with Tesla's alternating current. And he said, this is what Tesla will do with you. And most of people actually believed Edison. So let's see now what is actually Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a decentralized, pseudo-anonymous peer-to-peer network. It is a cryptocurrency independent of any institution. Bitcoin is not a company. There isn't a person in charge. Actually, around 1 million people who are miners control it simultaneously, and they are all equal, peer-to-peer. When someone proposes a change in the network, more than 50% of miners must accept it to be realized. And what is also important is that Bitcoin isn't just a cryptocurrency. It is programmable and can represent any kind of ownership. It can be used to protect copyrights and every other data that exists. The purpose of internet was to spread data. The purpose of Bitcoin is to protect it. And when you hear blockchain technology, it's actually Bitcoin technology. It came from Bitcoin and it's just one part of it. The first time Bitcoin was introduced was in 2008 by an anonymous author or group of people behind the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. It was in an article, Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer cash system. It's called a Bitcoin white paper. It has 9 pages and I highly recommend you to read it if you want to know more about Bitcoin. You have the link for the white paper in the video description. The main purpose of Bitcoin is to replace the centralized banking system, which has a lot of intermediaries, with a system which is 100% decentralized and without intermediaries. In this case, miners are intermediaries, all at the same time. For this reason, bankers are fighting against Bitcoin, just like Edison did to Tesla. You could see a lot of times information in media that Bitcoin is bad because people can buy drugs and weapons with it. But as far as you know, there isn't any form of money that people can't use to buy drugs and weapons. More specifically, drugs and weapons are the second most traded commodity after food in the world, and if we couldn't buy the second most traded commodity with it, this would not be considered as money at all. Saying criminals use Bitcoin, let's ban it, it is like saying criminals use phones, let's ban phones. So it's all about how you will use something, for good or for bad reason, you know. Here you can see how many bitcoins will be in circulation over time. There will never be more than 21 million bitcoins, and that's to prevent the inflation. We are now in the beginning phase and there are still created a lot of bitcoins, so that's the reason why the price can move fast up and down, but this will disappear over the years and price will become more stable. And keep in mind that banks print fiat currencies out of thin air without limits. Fiat currencies are not backed by anything since 1971. Money is now actually backed by an obligation, which says that taxpayers will pay it and back it up. So money is actually debt now.